All right, so Lawrence, you hit a good tee shot up there, okay? From what we were talking about, like you stuck to a couple of key swing thoughts, you allowed yourself to put the ball in play, but you're not in the best of spots here, okay?
Yeah.
So tell me what's going on. Like, do you feel comfortable with this shot, or do you know how to actually set yourself up for this shot?
Usually I don't feel comfortable with this shot.
Okay.
Yeah, usually my ball position was way on my trail foot.
Okay, so you hit more like chunk shots?
Yeah, I hit a lot of chunk shot and pull hooks on the down, and sometimes I thin it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So ball placement is one of the things that you are trying to adjust to allow yourself to hit the shot. Is there anything else that you try and do to allow yourself to hit the shot?
Over this shot, I usually think I just want to power through it.
Okay.
That's
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you adjust anything as far as like grip goes? Like, do you choke
Grip
down on the
wise?
club? Do you grip up on the club?
I don't choke down.
Okay.
Just normal grip.
So you just do a normal grip?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else that you try and adjust for on this shot?
For this kind of shot, I will aim more right to the target.
Okay.
And every time when I'm right, my balls go right.
Okay. All right.
when I am straight to the target and pull hooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start by addressing ball placement first.
Okay.
So you play the ball back in your stance, and that is a common thing that a lot of people do on a downhill lie. They think for whatever reason that helps them get the correct math to be able to come through and hit a good shot. But for you, it typically leads to a chunk shot.
Yeah.
Every single time. Okay. So as far as ball placement goes for you, by having the ball that far back in your stance, you're actually swinging like pretty much straight down on the golf ball. Okay. So you're setting yourself up to chunk that shot. So as opposed to putting the ball back in your stance, let's move it a little bit closer towards the center to maybe even just a little bit up in the stance. Okay. Wonderful. All right, good. Now another thing here too, so we are going on a downhill lie with the ball just ever so slightly above your feet. As far as weight and pressure goes, okay, we need to try and put a little bit more weight and pressure on the left-hand side. So that way your shoulder line is more parallel or level with the slope line that's underneath you. Another way of thinking it is just trying to get your spine perpendicular to the slope line as well, okay? So you want to try and put a little bit more weight and pressure on that forward leg.
So you would say maybe 80-20?
Yeah, 80-20 would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, just a good place to start from, okay? And you can always adjust depending on the severity of the lie as well.
Yeah, and grip-wise, you will suggest?
So grip-wise, so think about it like this. The ball is just ever so slightly above your feet. So that means you are a little bit closer to the golf ball, okay? So by you just gripping normal, you're also setting yourself up to chunk the shot as well, okay? That club is too long for this situation, so you would need to choke down just a little bit. You wouldn't have to go all the way to the end, but somewhere probably towards the middle of that grip would be a great spot for this position here, okay? Wonderful, all right? And then you also said too that you have a tendency to either you hit a block or you hit a snap hook, okay? So let's address the snap hook first, okay? So typically in this situation, you are gonna hit a little bit more of a draw, okay? How much that ball draws depends on what you're doing against the ground, okay? So when you are swinging through a shot, what side do you want to finish on? Your left side or your right side?
Left side.
On your left side, okay? So for you, when you're coming through, it sounds like in an effort to avoid chunking the ball and come through and make clean contact, you are actually you're finishing on your right side. And as you're more on your right side, you have more of a tendency to close that face and start that ball off a little bit to the left. But then vice versa, you said you also hit a little bit of a push as well, okay? So that means as you're coming into the golf ball now, so you said you started with 80-20, okay? So you might want to try and do your best to maintain that throughout the swing, because if you're hitting the push, you're putting a little bit more up on that side. Now something else that you can do to help yourself here as well is you can shorten up your swing, okay? So you don't necessarily need to take a full length swing in this situation. You can do something like, just as a good reference for yourself, going shoulder to shoulder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so we want to adjust our ball placement. We want to adjust whether it's shoulder line or how you think about it with how you're interacting with the ground. And you want to adjust the length of your swing, okay? Typically, you are probably going to see a little bit more of a draw, but how you were doing it was setting yourself up for either a snap hook or a little bit of a push. We want to try and find that middle ground somewhere in between those two guys, okay? So better ball placement, better shoulders in relation to the slope line, okay? And then also shortening up the swing. That will help you be more successful and try and find that area in between those two mistakes.
Yeah. That's
Sound
very
good?
helpful. Thanks, Ryan.
Any questions?
We're good. Yeah,
Alright.
thank you.
Cool.